Yeah. Hey. Well, yeah. Goonies never say die. You know what time it is. We got horror suspense. Listen, Kevin and Trav digging in the bin. Dirty Dancing in Encino Man. You never know what you'll find in Uncle Doug's bin. What's in the bin? Yeah, Uncle Doug's bin. He's got all these flicks from way back when. Marty McFly in the DeLorean. Gotta love the cage and whatever he's in. Face off Snake Eyes, you know it's a win. What's in the bin? Yeah, Uncle Doug's bin. What's in the bin? Yeah, Uncle Doug's bin. What's in the bin? Yeah, Uncle Doug's bin. What's in the bin? Yeah, let's begin.
Welcome to Uncle Doug's DVD Bin, the podcast where we take your favorite movies, give you some facts, tell you the plot in an hour, sometimes more, usually more, and there might even be a few jokes along the way. I'm your host, Travis.
And I'm your host, Kevin.
Kevin, I know you're not much of a football movie watcher. We got you in on this one. Me and Doug, we kind of went in and we said, hey, let's get Kev to watch a football movie. Let's see what he does. You were a good sport, pun intended.
No, thanks, man. Yeah, I didn't want to have to punt this one to somebody else. But I'll tell you this, Trav. I've seen some sports movies, but this kind of sports movies I like generally involve boxing. You know, I'm a Rocky Balboa guy. I'm a Cinderella man, you know. Warrior. It was an MMA movie, man. You know, I like simple sports where you can understand one man punch another man in face. I understand that. But you're out here. The Ali movie with Will Smith. Boy, he took that movie real seriously. Anyway, we'll move. We'll put
method acting.
That's right. And you know, I can understand those movies, but these movies where they're like, "Oh yeah, he's a running back and he's gonna toss a side quadrilateral to the upsilon." You're like, I don't care. I don't care.
Is that a? That was a football play you were trying to describe there, I guess.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty close,
good.
Right? I was
very good. Yeah. They ran that twice in this movie. You were paying attention.
But you know what, man? I'm glad that you kind of pulled me out of my comfort zone a little bit. You and Uncle Doug encouraged me to watch this one.
He really was encouraging us to watch The Replacements because, no surprise to anyone that listened to our previous episode, has a guy named Shane in it.
Mm-hmm. And
Doug's very jazzed about that part.
Doug loves anyone named Shane. In fact, I feel like he thinks that somehow Shane Falco is related to Shane from the film Shane. Like, I think he believes that perhaps he's an ancestor or something along those lines. Or maybe he was just so sad that he hadn't heard the name Shane shouted 75 times. He needed another movie full of Shane-ness.
Exactly, yeah. And then I remember him saying when we pulled this out, and he goes, and to beat all, the quarterback's last name is the same name of that flying dog from that other movie y'all did. And we were like, what are you talking about? And it took us a minute, and we realized that the quarterback's name is Shane Falco, and we guess Doug is talking about Falcor, the big flying fuzzy pink dog. But that Doug, he's just, sometimes I can't tell if he's being silly or serious, but that's his charm.
It's because his expression never changes. Like, he doesn't necessarily laugh. He just has this sort of deadpan delivery on everything. He's like sort of the way Bill Murray is in about every movie, but scarier. Like 20% scarier, at least to what Bill Murray's bringing to the table. You know, this movie, The Replacements, which I'm sure is coming as no shock to anybody, has sort of been a little bit of an albatross around my neck, because every time the topic of sports movies comes up, my buddy Chris, he's a big proponent of this. He loves this movie. He found out I was doing this movie podcast. He's like, oh man, you got to do The Replacements. It's the best movie ever, best sports movie ever. Trav, my partner in crime right here, you were like, this is one of the best movies of all time.
Did I say that?
You did say that. Yeah, you were really hyping it. You had both hands in the air, waving them around like you just don't care, talking about how great The Replacement.
I cared. I feel like that might have been my sarcasm. I don't know. I remember I watched this movie on a date in high school, and I think I was necking the whole time, as John Madden says sometime in this movie. So all I remember is the soundtrack, which is fun. Yeah. It's a fun soundtrack. But I hadn't really paid attention beyond the first 30 minutes of this one. So I can confidently say that it is not the best sports movie I've ever seen, but it's not unfun.
No, there's some fun to be had here, and I won't bury the lead too much. I did actually have a lot of fun watching this movie with you, for sure. I'd never seen it before, and I'm doing a podcast on it after one viewing, which seems kind of irresponsible, but that kind of goes with the theme of The Replacements, I think. At least in my mind, it does. Now, the question remains, is this Keanu Reeves' most performance outside of Bill and Ted?
As in, like, him just being the most clueless airhead
Yeah.
in the whole...
Yeah, it just seems like he's non-reactive. I swear, I think Keanu Reeves must be the most zen human being on Earth. Like, even when he's supposed to be angry in scenes, he just doesn't seem it. Like, he seems like he's in a completely different spiritual place or spiritual plane than someone like you or I, Trav.
I agree. I'm one of the people that, like many of us, we like Keanu Reeves because he is in a lot of blockbuster movies that are fun and a lot of, John Wick and that and Point Break and all these things, but I just don't buy his emotions ever. He's just a conduit for us as a viewer to sort of fit ourselves into. He's I never really buy his emotions at all. So this movie is another example of he's quiet, he must be sad.
Oh, look at him! He's staring out into the water. He's definitely he's got a few morose scenes in here where he's sort of sad, staring out at the water. He's got some Louis from Interview with a Vampire vibes going on a little bit.
Right? Yeah, I would actually equate him to Louis a lot in this. I was about to bring that up earlier. Just sulking with intermittent activity.
I think you were going to go with they sucked early on.
Oh,
vampire.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you thought you were just going to
yeah.
get football puns, but you're getting vampire puns. Now,
well,
Trev, this is a little bit of a non sequitur. All right, maybe I'm a little out of bounds here, but one of the things that I've been doing in my life is been on a little bit of a, I guess you would say, social media diet. I haven't been getting on the Facebooks or the Twitters or the Instagrams or the TikToks or any of that stuff as much as I used to, and what I've discovered is my life is so much better for it. Now, I don't mean to get preachy. If you enjoy being on social media, that's fine. I just find it to be kind of toxic sometimes. People are kind of mean to each other. They say things they wouldn't say, in person, that sort of thing. But you know what? I have really gotten invested in the Discord community that is built around the Polymedia Network. There are some awesome people on there, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, of course, me being one of them, of course. And then there are several others, too. And, we have a lot of cool things going on in there. You can get fit is a thing that we rally around. And we're not fit folk by nature. This takes a lot of work. And we encourage one another with screenshots of our workouts and that kind of thing. And I've seen a lot of people completely turn it around in there. So that's just an example of what kind of a positive positive reinforcement, encouraging community that you can have if you're not just on Facebook reading what your uncle's mad about. Or, God bless him, even Uncle Doug. Sometimes he can be a little bit of a touchy person on the socials. But Discord's where it's at. And if you would be interested in supporting Polymedia and even joining that Discord, you can check out the Patreon for it. So patreon.com/polykill. Thank you, Kevin, for that opportunity to plug it in there.
Well, it's easy to sell things that you believe in, man. I'll tell you, I have so much loved both being on the Polymedia Discord and the Blue Peg Pink Peg. I don't talk too much about the other podcast I'm on, on this. Because it is on the Polymedia Network, but Blue Peg, Pink Peg, the board gaming podcast I'm on, is just its own thing, like David S. Pumpkin Skeletons. But you can hop on our Discord, too. There's some cool people on there. We do talk about video games. We talk about board games. And, it's just, I don't know if curated experience is the right term, but it is a whole lot better than jumping on there and seeing Uncle Doug complaining about how they have self-checkouts at Walmart now and they don't work right. Gosh, he really hates the self-checkout.
He hates it, and it's because he doesn't understand that you have to put the barcode face down on the scanner. He's just running stuff across it like the friction's going to work. Like, no, dude, you have to it's all about that barcode, Doug. But anyway, he'll get it. He'll
figure it out. Back when this movie came out, there was no self-checkout at the Walmart. Now, this movie came out on August 11th of 2000. It's hard for me to believe it's been 22 years almost since that movie came out. Like, I still think of everything from the 2000s as like, oh, that's a new movie, but it's been a long time. No, the director was Howard Deutsch. It was written by Vince McEwen, starring, of course, we've already alluded to it, Keanu Reeves. And we kind of dogged on Keanu a little bit, but man, I do love the movies he's in, and he is super enjoyable and fun to watch in this one. One of my favorite actors of all time, if not, it's hard to give him my favorite actor, but he is right up there. One, Gene Hackman, channeling some Bear Bryant action in this movie as the kind of beleaguered, wisecracking coach of the football team. And one, Brooke Langton is in this as well. So, it's a solid cast, and the supporting cast, while not being necessarily huge recognizable names, other than I think Jon Favreau is one of the supporting cast of the football team. Really
and Orlando
good.
Jones is great.
Yeah, Orlando Jones. Yep. Just really good kind of supporting cast of this. They kind of come together as a team, Trav. You see what I did there?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they form a nice cohesive unit.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna pass the ball to you here, Trav. God, I really got to stop with the football puns, or people are like already tuned out.
It's okay. I promise I won't fumble this one. So what you're passing over to me, we're doing the 6 degrees of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Which, if you're confused about that, because we're not talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you have to go back to that episode. But essentially, I find a link between our previous movie, which was Shane, and our movie that we're covering today, which is The Replacements. I try to find that link, similar to 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but without Kevin Bacon usually. So here's our link. Ben Johnson. So you remember Calloway from Shane. He was sort of the first guy to get into a beef with our guy Shane in the old bar. Yeah, so Ben Johnson played that character in Shane. He was in Bite the Bullet, 1975 Western flick. Maybe you're familiar. I know you're a big Western fan, Kev. He was in that film with Gene Hackman, as well as, I know another one of your favorite actors, James Coburn, was also in that movie, who was in Maverick. So it all hinges on Bite the Bullet, a movie that I have not seen.
Wow, you continue to outdo yourself on these. Like, you did this in 2 people. 2 people, Trav. That is incredibly impressive. Like, just making me feel tingly how smart you are over there, how good you are with that Google machine.
There's absolutely no website that facilitates this purpose. I promise. This is all hand-dug research. I've muddy up to my elbows trying to figure this one out.
Did you probably end up using a Dewey Decimal System to figure this out, don't you?
I do. I spend 4 days in the library nonstop, no rest. It's tough.
I'm picturing that like library in the Indiana Jones movie where he's like smashing through the floor to go find the catacombs. I think that's Last Crusade. I think that's where you've been the whole time figuring this out. Well, one other thing that you do that I appreciate. I mean, there's many things that you do, Trav, that I appreciate. You're.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I appreciate that you appreciate it. That's one thing I appreciate about you.
Dang.
But another thing that you do is you bring to the table some great reviews from the common person, the person out there on the street who watches a movie, who has a keyboard and is willing to type in words onto a computer screen to let us know what they think. Now, Trav, I bet. And I'm not a betting man. I know we're talking about a sports movie, but I don't bet on sports, and I don't bet on life. But I bet on you, Trav, and I bet you brought us some great reviews for The Replacements.
Oh, of course I did. And as always, we're going to start out with the folks who love it, people that just are blinded by their affection for The Replacements. Kicking it off here with Kent Wakefield. This is from November 7, 2021. Where were you on that day? I bet you don't remember, but Kent Wakefield was leaving a review for The Replacements. He says, the greatest film ever made. Snubbed by the audience. Sorry, I should pause for applause. Greatest film ever made. Snubbed by the Oscars because they're a bunch of nerds who never got picked on for sports or in gym class. Citizen Kane has nothing on this movie.
Okay.
So
somebody's a little
talking right to you there.
He really is. I'm imagine he's the guy that peaked in high school, and he wears his Letterman jacket still to like go to the local bar, and get tanked and go home and yell at his wife Tammy. It's like, come on, man. You really, greatest film of all time. Have you not seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I mean, clearly that. my friend, is the greatest movie of all time.
There is nothing wrong with wearing a Letterman jacket to a bar. Gosh. People get too uptight about that.
They do.
I mean, you pay the money for it. Why can't you wear it?
You know that is you know what, that is the biggest scam of all. I mean, education is full of scams. Let's face it. Anything involving higher education, college is totally a scam. But we'll get there later. Anyway, the point I'm making here is that Letterman jacket or even your high school ring, they charge what, like $600 for one of those things? Who the heck is still wearing their high school ring? First of all, I got fat and my fingers swelled up and I definitely can't wear that sucker anymore. So who's still out here? Trav, what is that on your hand right now?
Now, we were too poor to get me a class ring, and I would have loved a Letterman jacket because it would have at least kept me warm. A ring does nothing. A ring does absolutely nothing.
So in that scenario, you would have went jacket over ring. Got it. Okay.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Plus, our school colors were black, and that looks good on me. Up next, we got another 5-star from Will Swade. This comes February 16th of this year, 2022. He says, they should just let you review sports games on here. I watched a Tuesday night game between the Clippers and the Hornets, and it was a delight. Reggie Jackson and Luke Kennard are just finding ways to win, and you got to love that. And I just thought that was a great plug for just nothing related to the movie.
But it's a 5-star. It's a 5-star. Like, that's so good, man. Are you now? What is your Trav? Again, you're more of a sports guy than me. Now, I will confess to having watched some basketball back in the day, especially the Chicago Bulls in the '90s. Who didn't watch Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, all those guys play, right? But what on earth is this guy thinking? Throwing in a review for a basketball game in February of this year that probably no one in 10 years is going to remember.
No, just a midweek late season game between the Clippers and the Hornets, man. Why not rate that 5 stars? That guy had a good time.
See, this is
good for
him.
This
is what I kind of talked about this off the air. It irks me a little bit, like sports fans. I know I'm getting people like gnashing their teeth at me, but I mean, I'm just, it's a little fun, Josh, and I'm not harshing anybody's vibe.
Sure.
But they're like, that game was historic. Wow, you mean he caught a ball? The same thing that's happening on every playground across the country right now? Wow, super impressive.
But it was awesome. How many balls have you caught, Kev?
I mean, more than I care to admit, Trav. A fella's got to pay the rent.
I guess so.
Oh, man.
Yeah, all right. Well, speaking of catching balls, we've got people now on it, and Lexi here coming in with 3 stars, September 19th, 2019. That's 9/19/19, in case you were curious. Keanu is a snack. That's why I'm watching.
Is that an insult or a compliment?
Well, it's a 3 star, so it's like, the movie's I'm just here for I'm here for the snack.
I'm here for the count. But if somebody said, like, hey, Trav, you're a snack, are you like, oh, thank you? Or are you like, why ain't I the full meal?
Or dessert. Like, save me for last. I would feel fine about that.
I'll be over. I'll be over quickly. Probably overrated, and you'll end up feeling terrible afterwards. Yeah, definitely. I'm a dessert. Definitely a dessert.
I'm definitely a dessert. That's right. And I'm a little bit sticky.
Oh no.
And then last here, people low on it. Pro wrestler Kevin Nash, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I know you're not a big sports fan. Maybe you're a fan of the fake sports.
I am.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to call it fake, but the WWF/E. Well, Kevin Nash here, May of 2017, so long ago. Nearly 5 years.
Yeah. Feels like a decade, though.
Oh, well, true. 1 star. Ooh, let's see what he says. This is in the discussion for the laziest sports movie of all time. It is a film that has no backbone, leaning instead entirely on a string of flaccid comedy routines and strung together like a chain of music videos where one pop song after another dictates the action and rhythm of every scene. The uncompelling story is made even less interesting by Keanu Reeves' barely there performance, and not even the presence of Gene Hackman can carry this thing past the 10-yard line.
Ooh, dang. Kevin Nash just body slammed that bad boy. I agree with a lot of the things he said, but not the 1-star rating. Like, I think this is better than 1 star. I mean, I'm not, for me, coming in at a 3-star, it being sort of an average movie. Yeah, okay, fine. I could live with that. I think a 1 star is just, I mean, you're just being a little
too
harsh.
harsh.
Yeah, there's some nice like camera pan shots of Gene Hackman looking all coachy, and there's some nice naturalistic acting by Keanu because he's not acting at all. He's just standing there saying the words that he read on a page. I think there's some good stuff in this. Some of the jokes land.
Yeah, the jokes. Well, I don't know. I mean, some of the jokes do land. Yeah, and some parts of it haven't aged great. But one thing I really appreciated about this movie, being someone who does watch sports movies and appreciates sports as a pastime of American history, they do a really good job of choreographing a lot of the action that you don't see in a lot, especially football. I find that that's the hardest to do because you got to have enough big guys that are actors to fill out those uniforms and make them seem like legitimate professional players. You don't see that happen a lot. And this movie, 22 years old, it really does stand out as one that like a lot of those hits and a lot of the action, that kind of thing, that stood out to me as being something I was like, wow, this movie really stands apart from a lot of other sports movies in that regard. And of course, the soundtrack is just the best.
For me, I definitely didn't hate this movie as much as I thought I was going to. But I kept watching it, and I think I commented on this while we were going through it. I was like, this movie really suffers from that PG-13 rating. This movie really needs to be a rated R, Bad News Bears, maybe. I don't know, whatever. Like, just amp up the raunchy comedy of it just a smidge. I think would have made this movie a lot more palatable for me. I felt like I was watching a movie that wanted to be Talladega Nights or something along those lines, but it just couldn't quite get there. I don't know, man. It didn't land for me, but I definitely still sort of enjoyed it. I still had fun watching it. Like I said, some of the jokes were pretty good. Some of the jokes were pretty dated and seem a little, you know me, Trav. I'm so woke. I'm so woke.
I do know that about you.
So woke. They kind of landed a little racist for me, but
I mean, me too. I can't just not agree with that. Me as well. I also found a lot of them, and there's a fair amount of misogyny too.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of that didn't age great, and those are parts of the movie that really detract from the overall lightheartedness of it when I had to cringe through some scenes. But again, there's still some parts that I chuckled out loud at. Just a lot of the slapstick and stuff like that. That stuff is timeless. It'll always get me.
It is. And what's his name? Orlando
Orlando
Jones.
Yeah.
God, did some nice kind of riffing. Like his delivery on a lot of lines was really, really funny. He kind of tied it together. John Favreau's performance, I just really enjoyed. He
was great.
He was definitely. I can't remember when the Waterboy came out, but it really reminds me of like he's sort of the amped up Bobby Boucher in this movie. So kind of fun there. But now, Travis, this movie opens up with the Shane Falco, who we have alluded to in the past as being both named Shane and Falcor. And he was a star quarterback with Ohio State University who choked in the big game, it was the Sugar Bowl, right, Trav?
Sugar Bowl. He goofed it.
He did.
Goofed it up.
He didn't win. And that's sort of what he's remembered for. Well, now he's living in a harbor somewhere, presumably in Washington, D.C., because he seems pretty close to the stadium. So we're going to go.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
I didn't consider that, but yeah, he's somewhere where the water's clear near D.C., and I don't know where that would be.
Yeah, it sure looks a lot like he's on his boat in Florida, but somehow plays for a team in D.C., but or maybe SoCal, I don't know. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. But what he does for a living is he's, I guess, a maintenance or custodian guy for boats. So he hops in the water, he swims around, knocks the barnacles off, cleans up the bottoms of the boats. Well, we see that he has taken his metal football trophy and tossed it into the water at some point in the past. Again, I'm going to say he's a little bit of a litter bug here. Yeah, I'm going to call him out on it. I don't appreciate people throwing stuff in the ocean. That's where the sea turtles live, and sea turtles are cute as Trav. And so anybody that messes with sea turtles is on my list. But he actually has this scene where it's so stupid. He's so dumb. It's so dumb, but I love it because this is 100% like out of all the scenes in the movie. Like I used to get mad about things, and so I can sort of relate to John Favreau. But like of all the things that I can relate to in the movie, it's like when he finds the little football, the metal football at the bottom of the ocean, and he's like tossing it around like he's winning the big game. I'm like, that's 100% me. I would so do that.
Yeah. I mean, just all the joy he has down there, just flinging around a football and no one can see him. He's down there being like a little fish.
Well, they flash back to the stadium, and we see the fictional team, the Washington Sentinels, playing. And, of course, and Trav, I've gushed on a lot of people in movies we've watched. I've never seen your eyes get bigger. I could see your heart beating out of like through your shirt. You might want to get that looked at. It was like I was watching Looney Tunes when John Madden came on screen.
Oh, you got John Madden and Pat Summerall, the best duo in football commentary history. Love a cameo by those guys, and they're here for the long haul. They're going to be commentating all the Sentinel games all the way up through the end of this regular season, which is fantastic. But John Madden and Pat Summerall delivering the goods. A lot of snarky commentary from those two. You love to see it.
Yeah. Well, so we see the game with the Washington Sentinels playing, and their star quarterback, Eddie Martell, decides, I'm not going to take this hard shot to win the game. So he sort of slides to avoid getting injured, and Ed O'Neill, who's the coach, calls him some names, some sort of disparaging names about his level of machismo, right? Like he's kind of underperforming. Like if he was more of a bad mamma jamma, he would have just ran that ball in and taken the shot to the face, which I sort of disagree with. I think dudes are probably about the most toxic especially when we get to playing sports. And Trav, I have played sports, and I do feel like I have been toxic with my teammates in the past. So I can kind of relate to that a little bit. But it sort of sets up this strike that is about to happen. All of the players are sort of demanding to be paid more.
Right, yeah, because they're not getting the benefits they deserve. They don't want to take those big hits. They're ducking out of those big hits. They don't want to get hurt, jeopardize their future. So they say, pay us more money. And they say, how about no? How about we don't do that? So next logical move, let's go on strike. Let's just not play football.
Yeah. And this movie gets some guff for being a very anti-union movie. And they kind of make fun of the players as being sort of overpaid. Do people still use the expression Nancy boys?
Guys are toxic.
Guys are toxic. Yeah, definitely. So they sort of tease the players about that, like, oh, do you know how expensive the insurance on a Ferrari is, was a line that was in there with one of the players was complaining about, which just strikes me as more being out of touch than being, a terrible person. Of course, we've got to realize that these, I'm going to call them the real players, or the first string players, something like that. But they're sort of the 80s movie villains in this that just pop up from time to time to cause some trouble when the replacements show up. But they're going on strike. They're done. They want to make some more money, which seems reasonable. Maybe. I don't know. But the next day, Ed O'Neill, who is played by Jack Warden, is the owner of the Sentinels. He's meeting with Jimmy, Gene Hackman's character, and he was. We find out that Jimmy, the former coach, was fired after he got into a fight with the Team Stars quarterback because he, wasn't getting his way with this quarterback. And I think, you know what? I kind of like this Jimmy. He's willing to stand up for what he believes in.
Yeah, Coach McGinty, as they call him. And that little story, that little bit of history that he once upon a time got in a disagreement with the star quarterback and that got him ousted, bit of a foreshadowing for some things that are going to go down later. So we know that this is a no-nonsense guy that they're going to bring back into the fold as their replacement coach. And not only is he going to coach the team, it's up to him to recruit the players that he's going to coach for the rest of the season. They have to finish 4 games in the season. They need to win 3 to get to the playoffs. And it's very unclear what happens after that. They never talk about it. The goal is the playoffs, and once we get there, we'll talk about it. We'll talk more about it then.
That's like when my mom was like, yeah, we're leaving McDonald's. I don't know where we're going next, but I'm just like, I know we're going to McDonald's and there's a play place. So that's probably all right. Well,
heck yeah. You're in your 30s, Kev. You could drive yourself.
What? They'll let you in there without your mom? Dude,
He will.
Trav,
Yeah.
you just opened up my whole life, my brother. I appreciate that, man. I don't know.
I'm telling you, man, I've been going without my mom for 5 years now.
I think
it's been fine.
I think we need to have an Uncle Doug play date where Uncle Doug takes us both to McDonald's. That sounds amazing.
I think he's banned. I don't know. He might have to wear like googly eyes and a mustache to get back in, but we can see if. Well, we can choose a different McDonald's maybe.
Oh, is that because he kept ordering a 25% pounder?
Yeah.
One thing you can say about Uncle Doug, he knows his percentages. So, Ed O'Neill and Coach Jimmy have this sort of scene. Jimmy lays out the rules. He says, look, I'll come back. I'll coach for you. Fine. But I get to do it my way. I get to pick my guys. If we win at least 3 out of the 4 final games, we get to go to the not Super Bowl, the playoffs, and that's a win for us. That's what we're shooting for here. So now McGinty, he has sort of an unorthodox recruiting strategy, wouldn't you say, Trav?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, this is where you get a bit of a montage, and you've seen a lot of movies like this. Mighty Ducks comes to mind, where you just have this ragtag group of scrubs, people that didn't make it to the big leagues that are going to be on the list. And so he goes around and recruits all these folks just based on these, I guess, qualities that you can't coach. Like you go and you find the guy with the best leg. Who's that going to be? Well, that's going to be just a Welsh soccer player that has a piss poor attitude and he smokes constantly, and he has a gambling addiction, which is going to get him into trouble. But you know what he can do? He can kick a soccer ball the full length of the field, despite the fact that he's not really that likable. He looks like who's that? He looks like Johnny. He looks like Sid Vicious. So
were you thinking Johnny Rotten? Johnny Rotten, maybe.
I was.
Yeah, Johnny Rotten and Sid
yeah.
Vicious. Either one, any of the Sex Pistols, really, he could have been a stand-in for. I wonder if he took those as sort of inspiration that the actor did. But they kind of go through and they're picking out different. They pick out 2 brothers who are going to end up being, I think, defensive linemen, maybe. In the movie, and they get a guy from jail, and they get a religious guy, and of course, I keep wanting to say Orlando Bloom, but Orlando Jones's character, who could just run fast. That's his shtick. He can't catch the ball, but he can run super fast. It's like they're picking. Again, I think this is just Moneyball for people who scored low on the SATs. I think is probably what this movie is. And so,
yeah, you're not wrong.
They're putting this team.
Well, my favorite one though is John Favreau's Danny Bateman.
Yes,
who's the easily. Favreau went all out for this, man. He plays like the unstable rage, quick to rage defensive player who. He doesn't understand when he's supposed to hit people in practice. He's unhinged, but he is his berserker rage is very entertaining.
It is, man. So he recruits all these guys, and then the cornerstone of his team is this quarterback that everybody's forgotten about, one Shane Falco. Now, he shows up at Shane's boat, which, first of all, look, I know the guy lives on a boat, but you are stepping into the man's house. And you're Gene Hackman, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If I came home and Gene Hackman was my house, I'd be like, hey, man, can I cook you some eggs? Like, what do you want to sit down for a while? I got to pour you a Gatorade. Whatever Gene Hackman wants if he showed up at my house. But he shows up on Shane Falco's
Please never
boat.
invite me to your house if you're just going to offer me eggs and Gatorade, though.
What about some Tang and eggs?
Now that's a discussion.
Some Gerald McCraney Tang and eggs, baby. It gets no better than that. So Gene Hackman's on the boat, and there's a little bit of dialogue that happens between him and Shane Falco. And, I feel like Shane is just that guy that needs somebody to believe in him. Like, he needed remarkably little encouragement to actually actualize and become a great football player, or even a better person. It's one of those sad things, man. Sometimes we don't have people that believe in us. So that's why I just want to take a moment and tell you, Trav, I believe in you, buddy.
Oh, thanks, pal. I appreciate hearing that. That means a lot to me. Wow.
So Gene Hackman's character Jimmy has this moment and encourages Shane Falco, and we're like, okay, well, where is this going to go? Well, the next day we see the team kind of getting together. It's their kind of first practice. We're not sure if Shane's going to show up, but we're pretty sure he's going to show up because, let's face it, that's what screenwriters want. Now, there is one scene that I want to comment on because it sort of made me chuckle. As the bus pulling in with all of the replacement players, or the scabs, as the and for some reason the other football players, I feel like they're wealthy enough, they're making millions of dollars. They could probably pay somebody else to actually be at the stadium and be the hooligans that cause trouble, but they, whatever. It makes it more fun. So the non-replacements, the real players are kind of hanging outside of the stadium, and they start throwing eggs at the bus on the way in. Well, one of the brothers, the two brothers of the defensive men, pulls out a gun, and he's like pointing it at the guys that are throwing eggs, and I'm like, man, this dude straight up brought a gun to an egg fight. That is impressive.
You don't see that every day.
You really don't.
My goodness.
100%. Well, so everybody arrives on the bus. A lot of the characters that we've talked about, except for Shane and this other fella who apparently was in jail. Apparently, there's some sort of work release program where they allow you to play in the NFL. I don't know how that works, but hey, you know what? It's for the sake of a movie, so why not? We'll just let it ride.
Yeah, they just let him right out of there. That's incredible. I would have fit if you get, why not just one? Why not get like 8 more guys out of, because those are tough dudes, and they'll play hard because they don't want to go back.
I mean, we've all seen the longest
you give
yard.
them the opportunity to go late in the season. Yeah, exactly. The longest yard's another good example. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm more of the Burt Reynolds version versus the Adam Sandler version.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
That's fair. So we also get a character show up, and he is a sumo wrestler. Hold on, I gotta consult my notes. They call him Jumbo, which is absolutely an amazing name for a sumo wrestler. Trav, have I ever told you that I did sumo for a little while?
No, you didn't tell me that. I'm immediately 25% more intrigued about you.
So part of I used to do judo and do judo competitions and that sort of thing. I mean, I still do it, but just not as seriously. We would do sumo competitions as well. I will tell you, sumo not as easy as it looks. It is. Mostly getting in the large man diaper is difficult. But I'll tell you what, wrestling a bigger fella and trying to get him outside of that ring is extremely, extremely difficult.
I would imagine so, man. I have a hard time just pushing big doors open at a church. You ever get behind a door that you can barely push, and you're like, gosh dang, am I weak or something? Imagine a full dude pushing back. No thanks, dude.
Yeah. And those sumo guys, they're incredible athletes. I know I'm getting deep in the weeds with some sumo, but maybe that's my sport. But they are incredible athletes, man. Really strong, incredibly explosive. So I was excited to see the inclusion.
We need more sumo movies. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we have more sumo? If we could have had back in the day a Akira Kurosawa sumo movie, I would have signed up for that 100%. But so we've got Jumbo the sumo wrestler. He shows up. Now, Shane does actually show up to practice with the team, and the 80s villain regular players decide to push his, which, Trav, you know how you felt when in The Crow, those guys smashed up those arcade machines? When these players knocked over Shane's Chevy S10, okay, you don't mess with a man's automobile. These players that are the regular players for the team flipped his truck over, and I'm going to tell you, man, did it make me angry.
That really grilled your goose. I couldn't believe it because we had suffered through tons of racism before that, but that was where you got loud, and I was like, holy jeez. But they flip over his truck, and he right there in the old parking spot, and just bully him, intimidating. But you know what? Keanu's character, Shane, he just plays it cool. He just kind of...
He does. He seems to be emotionally unaffected by everything. Again, Keanu Reeves is amazingly zen. More zen than I was, in fact. So... So he gets to practice. We see the team is a little awkward. They're fumbling a few things. They're not quite getting it together. But, it takes a little while to put a team together. Well, let me tell you this. Shane makes eyes with a cheerleader named Annabelle, and it turns into pretty much every music video from the 1990s. They're sort of staring at each other. The soundtrack's playing, and she just, man, for someone who says she doesn't date football players, she sort of seems like she wants to date a football player.
Yeah, it helps that they have the same haircut, so they look made for each other. It telegraphs it a little bit. And she, of course, that head cheerleader, she is going through her own bit of replacement process. They're trying out a few cheerleaders from around the block, I guess you could say. And that is that's a very Napoleon Dynamite section of the movie where everyone is doing their cheers and dances. That got me cracking up a little bit.
So my question is, were the cheerleaders on strike too? Is that what was going on? Why is she trying out cheerleaders?
I think they never really bring it up until you just see them trying out. And I think you're just supposed to assume that's the case, but I don't know.
Well, they were kind of intercutting or cutting back and forth between the cheerleader auditions and just a lunch scene that happens with some racist banter back and forth that we're just going to gloss over, Trav, because you and I are just not equipped to deal with that. So we'll leave that for you, dear viewer, or dear listener, to check out. So I was a little confused whether or not the cheerleaders were on strike, but you know what? It was a good excuse to have some lady exploitation, to have some women dancing around suggestively, and really play to those that 14 to 15-year-old demographic that this movie is shooting for. I will say I want to go back to that lunch scene because one of my favorite lines in the movie is Orlando Bloom. I'm gonna just call him Orlando Bloom.
You're going to commit to the wrong Orlando. Okay.
Yeah, no. Let's just go with Orlando.
I'm just going to call him Orlando, Florida. I'll do that. You call him Bloom.
Let's just go. We'll go with Orlando. I hate to call him by the wrong name. So he's in the middle of sort of this terse conversation between Jon Favreau's character and the character that I can't remember what the actor's name is, but had come out of prison. One's a sort of a convict, the other's a police officer. So they have sort of a disagreement. And Orlando Bloom just nopes out by saying, "Oh, look, there's bunt cake." And I was like, man. My boy, he knows how to get out of weird situations. I'm going to start using that. Like when I'm in an awkward situation, I'm going to be like, "Oh, is that bunt cake?" And I'm just going to leave.
You know what's funny, though? I think in one of the first live improv sets that we did together, I used the, "Oh, look, there's bunt cake" escape as one of mine as well. And I didn't even steal that from this movie. That's just baked into a good comedian. Just to know you have that bunt cake route. You can always get out of a weird spot with a little bit of bunt cake action.
Well, you say it's baked into a good comedian. Why did you do it?
Well, I saw, I've read about it in comedian magazines and was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, maybe I can use that."
I need one of those. I need one of those comedian magazines. So yeah, they continue to work on the, I'm just going to call them strip leaders, because they, of course, have strippers come out for some reason to try out for the cheerleader openings that maybe or maybe not are strike related. We don't really know, and it doesn't really matter. So, and there's a scene. So Annabelle, who's the cheerleader that our main character Shane Falco has been making eyes with throughout practice. His truck's flipped over. He doesn't have a way home. She offers him a ride home, and she is just sort of psychotically driving and weaving in and out of traffic with like a 1990s era Jeep. And I'm going to tell you, that is just a death wish. I feel like Annabelle needs some sort of, I don't know, maybe therapy or something along those lines, because I've been in a 1990s Jeep and it will not corner very well, and she could have been harmed, as well as Keanu. And even he seems a little less zen in this particular scene.
Yeah, this scene really stood out to me as one that just could have not existed. Like, it doesn't match her character profile at all. She doesn't have this personality of being reckless, but this whole Jeep scene is like, she breaks like 100 traffic laws and like no one really reacts to. I don't know. It's so weird. I don't know. It felt very out of place to me. What did you think? It was just bizarre?
Well, what I thought was super impressive, it was bizarre, but also impressive is that she could somehow still recite football facts about like the upcoming game that they had going, like giving him tips and stuff. So we do get the idea that she's a huge football fan.
But yeah, she knows. The funny thing is, she knows a lot of intel on the upcoming game with Detroit because she has a connection to cheerleaders in Detroit who watch Detroit practice, and so she's given him the scoop on when he should, the different formations that they run, what they do with their safeties, when he should roll out. And so she's very invested in, I guess, football film school and trying to give him some heads up. And this whole scene, her erratic driving and her football knowledge and all that stuff never resurfaces again. After this, she's just sideline googly eyes and a bartender at some point.
Yeah, she is, which is kind of unfortunate because I think out of all the characters, I was sort of most interested in her. So they get back to Shane's boat, and Shane says, "Hey, you wanna come over and have a beer? You want to hang out for a while?" And she says, "I'm sorry, I don't date quarterbacks, or I don't date football players at all. They're kind of babies," which is kind of funny, ha ha ha. But like, why have you been eye banging Shane all day? Like, I mean, I'm not dogging her. I mean, Keanu Reeves is a good looking man. I might eye bang him a little bit myself. So I just wondered, like, why is she doing this to herself? I guess. I guess we've all been in that situation where, like, oh, man, I like this person, but I know it is forbidden. Like, I can't do it.
Right. And why were you trying to get me turgid with all that Earnhardt Jeep driving you were doing? Like, was that supposed to make me feel something? Because I am impressed, and I'm turned on because I'm scared because we almost died several times. You want to step into my boathouse, get a beer. Well, we can talk about barnacles and stuff. Like, I deal with a lot of that. But she was resistant. She got real close, and then she, as she usually does, pushes back when it gets a little too close.
You got to have that Sam and Diane. You got to have that Pam and Jim energy in a movie. Will they, won't they? So, they at least set that up.
Speaking of Pam and
Mm-hmm.
Jim, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Speaking of Pam and Jim, though, we have Roy from The Office as our hearing disabled tight end in the movie.
Yeah, and he does have a tight end, if you know what I'm saying, Trav.
He really does, both tight and end. I don't know, but yeah.
I have a note here that I think is both accurate, true, and somewhat disconcerting. If you watch Gene Hackman's performance in this movie, he sort of plays it like he is pranking everyone and that he is just as surprised as anybody that the team starts winning. So I feel like there's some subtlety here. There's some subterfuge on the part of Gene Hackman where he's trying to like tank the team that fired him. So he's putting all these people in place that he thinks isn't going to work, and then all of a sudden it starts working. He's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll go with this. That's fine. I'll do that."
Yeah, pretty much. There's the scene you're talking about is that he says something. I can't remember exactly what he says, but he walks away with this maniacal laughter that is like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem to match what you just said. Are you okay? All right.
Does Gene Hackman ever laugh in a movie that doesn't sound maniacal?
That is true.
So I'm gonna lightly touch on this, and we're gonna move on. There's an egg scene, and it's gross. Okay, cool. All right, we talked about it. Let's just go on now.
It was a good egg scene too because it's Jumbo. He's in the locker room, pre-gaming on some boiled eggs as you do, popping them in, getting that protein, and he's not even chewing that first one when that second one gets in there. They're just cohabitating in his big jowls. And one of the coaches comes up and they're like, "Dude, are you eating fucking eggs before you go out on the field? Are you insane?" And it reminds me, our football team, we were pretty good in high school, Kev. We were a small high school, but boy, we were mean. You wouldn't want to mess with us. We were the Warriors, man. We were tough. Orange and black attack. And we would make the mistake of having our pregame meals as a team on Friday before the football game, and we would go to this big steakhouse and we would just get boatloads of spaghetti. And at halftime, most of the team was thrown up. Like there was noodle. You would just see noodle piles all over the football field. And it wasn't until my senior year our coach was like, "It'd be a great idea. Have our pregame meal on Thursday. That way on Friday we're real. Like, we don't have like belly aches when we go to war, and that was the best adjustment he made.
Did you guys call it going to war?
Yeah, why not? We're the Warriors, of course we did.
That makes sense. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, I was mistaken there. So, so Jimmy, the coach, of course, he's the coach. Man, he's got to drop that pregame speech. And I mean, he crushes it. He gets out here and he brings it. He brings a good speech. He's got the team amped up, so amped up, in fact, that Jon Favreau's character, for some reason, and I don't know if it's supposed to be a camera that's set up or if it's an intentional tripwire, but as he's coming out onto the field, just rushes the field, trips over this wire, and tackles like 7 cheerleaders. You're like, what was that, Trav? I was so confused by that. Was that supposed to be like they foreshadowed it like 7 or 8 times that this wire from the cameraman are across the thing just to set up this one gag that just, I mean, I didn't think it landed.
Yeah, I think it was the original QB, old Eddie Martell. He's messing around with some of the cables
dirty
for the
dog.
Yeah, and you can see he's got a monitor set up, and but you're right, it's not. They don't linger on it long enough for you to really make the connection. But yeah, that's the wire he's pulling taut when Favreau comes out and just wipes out 7 unsuspecting cheer strippers.
7 unsuspecting strip leaders, Trav. They're strip leaders.
Oh, I'm so
Jesus.
sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna have a battle over this. We're going to war because we're the Warriors, Trav.
Heck,
all right,
orange and black attack.
Orange and black attack. Well, you best step back. All right, so so he gets out there. Now the game starts, and now I keep calling it the defensive line. Now, Trav, you're the sports guy. So who are the players that defend the quarterback that keep him from getting murdered by the other team? What are they called?
That would be the offensive line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the offensive line, they get in a little bit of a racist argument, using some terms with each other, and there's even some fisticuffs thrown, and poor Shane Falco takes one on the chin, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets wiped out by his own team. And Madden and Pat Summerall do their old, "Oh, John, what's going on here? It looks like he took one right on the face. My goodness." And it's a whole thing. They just look like a bunch of clowns, as you would expect replacements to look. Are they ever going to get it together, Kevin? Oh, we have 90 more minutes. Let's hope.
Let's hope so. Well, Trav, I just want to point out that you and I are both replacements for original members of Big Lit Conspiracy, our improv troupe. So let's hope you and I too get it together, brother. So, Jon Favreau, I literally have in my notes here, heart Jon Favreau character. I just want you to know how much I liked his character, so I'm gonna just take that out. Well, they're having some growing pains. They're kind of getting together as a team because just like you and I were forged in the fires of improv, you don't really understand what you're capable of until you're out there on the field, or as Teddy Roosevelt said, the man in the arena, right? Like you don't really know what you're capable of. Well, they're having some growing pains. And you remember that egg scene earlier? It gets worse. It gets worse. It comes back, totally unpredictable. Jumbo starts yakking up eggs, just everywhere. I had to. We understand that you don't like snakes, Trav, but
oh yeah,
I don't mind vomit that much. Honestly, I've been a custodian.
Kind of into
past.
it, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I'm not into it. I'm not into it, Trav. But I've been like a custodian in the past. I've had to clean up vomit. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. But I will tell you what, somebody throwing up egg chunks, dude, straight up, that bothers me.
Yeah, well, you watched him. He didn't chew much of them. So I think that's why. Like, they're almost edible still when they come out of him, and I think that's the part that is very uneasy about it. But it doesn't stop there. Orlando Bloom Florida Jones also gets the, you know how sometimes vomit can be contagious, and then he spews what I'm going to say that's like some, like slightly chunky mashed potatoes that fall out of him.
Yeah. And
so the funny part is that now the team is kind of huddled around all this vomit. It's just you can imagine the fumes are not great. It's like when I was in high school, just spaghetti piles. And they lock arms and then they scooch over as a team. They really bond a little bit over this moment of dodging the piles of vomit while they try to get the play in. It's both heartwarming and stomach churning.
And they have their first moment of team cohesiveness because they're all like sort of huddled up, arms on each other's shoulders, like, dude, this vomit smells bad. Let's do this little like shuffle move to the side to get out of the vomit. And Gene Hackman's character, the coach, is encouraged by this. He's like, that's the first thing they've done, coordinated as a team ever. And you know what? It rallies them. Just as vomit will do with anyone, it rallies you. And they end up scoring I believe they're called field goals. Our boy, the Foot, the Welshman, kicks a. Was it 65 yards? I think that was the really far away field goal. So that's
a long field goal, yeah.
It is. I also have a note here that John Madden was fun in this scene. Whatever that means, he definitely was, for sure. He was actually pretty fun in this movie. R.I.P., by the way. I mean, he just recently passed away.
Yeah, we lost him 3 days after Christmas this past year. I took it pretty hard because I'm a big, not only am I a big football fan, a big video game fan. Madden is as important to the video game as a lot of other video game mainstays and franchises.
I definitely played some of those Madden games on the Sega Genesis. I didn't play any after, games got good. It's just like you had a certain amount of games that you could play back in the day, and you're like, okay, I guess I just got to play. I guess I got to play John Madden. But, after they got good, like the Halos and whatnot, so I was like, I'm good. Not that I'm saying, I'm qualifying a little bit. Let me put it this way, Trav, because I see you looking a little angry. Let's just say it's personal preference versus general quality. How about that?
It's fine. I mean, they're not all winners. There's some Maddens in there that could have not existed. They're a yearly franchise, but his name lives on. His name lives on.
It does. R.I.P. John Madden. So they lose the game. Bummer here, man. They got to win. Yeah. They got to win 3 out of 4 to get to those playoffs, but they lose this one. And there's some discrepancy. Jimmy, the coach, says to Shane, he says, hey, look, you didn't run the play that I told you because you're scared. You're a big fraidy cat, and you're afraid. And they have a little bit of an argument over losing the game. There's a little bit of a rift that happens there.
Yeah, kind of says that insinuates that he's weak and says that a winner would want the ball in that situation, And I don't remember the exact football scenario that was at play, but at some point, Keanu's character Shane gives up the rock, and that's why they lose the game. So he says, "Man, winners want the ball when it comes down to a winning situation." And that's going to stick. That's going to stick with our guy Shane. Will it come back? Probably. A little bit of foreshadowing later in the movie.
It's like my daddy used to say, it's stuck in his craw a little bit.
It did. Right in the thick of his craw, man.
So I'll tell you what, you just don't want anything in your craw. Well, they end that game and they head out to the bar, and they're not entirely deflated. They had a pretty good game. They were coming together at the end. Well, those regular players show up at the bar to cause a little bit of shenanigans. And they're just straight up 80s movie villains in this scene. Like 100%.
Yeah, they really are. They come in and they start in on our tight end, our deaf tight end, Brian Murphy, is it? Murray? Brian?
It's Brian.
Brian Murphy, the tight end, played by David Denman, who's Roy on The Office. They start picking on him a little bit and giving him a hard time. And then with the excuse of after Shane Falco confronts them, they say, well, what's the matter? It's not like he can hear us. And Shane Falco says,
"Ooh, that made me mad, Travis. That made me so mad."
It got me too. Yeah, I mean, the guys that they cast to play the football players, especially Eddie Martell, a perfect, smarmy, punchable-faced villain. I mean, he plays it well. I hate him in real life to this day because of this role. And Shane comes up and he goes, "Oh, well, I can hear you." Stands up for him, and the tight end passes him a note that says, it's okay because it means I can ignore the a-holes or something along those lines. But then we get into a little bit of a fisticuff situation here in this old.
Yeah, it was a better bar brawl than in Shane. I'm going to be honest. I was way more invested in this bar brawl than the one in Shane.
A lot of broken bottles. We got that classic scene of a guy picking up another guy and raking him across the bar, making all the liquor and the glasses shatter. But everyone's getting into it. Everyone threw a punch pretty much, and they wind up in jail. But what you notice a little bit, you see Orlando Bloom Florida Jones peeking out from behind the jukebox. He wants no part of this, but he gets lumped into the jail ride with the rest of the unit, and this becomes one of the more it's probably the scene where they really come together. This is now that they've all been taken to jail for standing up for one another. We see the actual bonding take place, and it wouldn't be a good bonding situation without a musical scene.
That's true. Trav, you don't really bond with another man until you spent time in jail with him. I'll tell you that. So you and I've actually booked us into the county jail next weekend. So just put that on your calendar. Write it in.
That's good. I've spent the night in jail, but it was alone. I didn't get to bond with anybody.
Well, guess what, buddy? You and me, we're going to bond next weekend. We just have to, smash some windows and maybe push a car over and light it on fire. Anyway, look, don't worry about it. We'll handle the details later. So they have this great scene in the jail where they do a song and dance number like all football players do in jail to Aretha Franklin's Respect. And Coach Jimmy shows up and he says, "Listen, you guys get up to this kind of shenanigan." Yeah, it was Respect.
Are you sure? Sorry.
I don't know, man. Check it out. You Google it, and I'm gonna vamp for you, okay, Trav? So they do it to I'm pretty sure, 97% sure, Aretha Franklin's RESPECT. Oh no, you know what? It's I'm Gonna Survive, isn't it?
I Will Survive.
I Will Survive. Yeah, you were Trav. Man, you are the you complete me. That's what it is. You complete me. Finally. So yeah, they do it to I Will Survive, whole dance number. So Coach Jimmy shows up. He's like, "Hey, what do you guys do this crap again? You're off the team." But hey, I bet it was awesome to punch that guy, wasn't it? So that we don't think Coach Jimmy is a total, stick in the mud. Well,
right. And this is, of course, after they give Orlando Florida Jones Bloom a hard time for not being in the mix. He's like, "What? What? I was fighting." They're like, no. You were hiding behind the jukebox. So that was comical.
You definitely were. Well,
and also that dance scene was the most awkward part of the movie. That looked like they tried it in one scene. No one was really up for trying it again, and they were like, "All right, we'll just cut together a few angles of what we just had there." It was rough though. You didn't give us a lot to work with, boys, but we'll just take it with us.
Well, they cut to the next morning. Now, Coach Jimmy has dropped their bail money, so they're out of jail. And Annabelle shows up at Shane's boat for some reason. No idea why, but she does. Maybe to check on him. Maybe she's, maybe she wants to make some more eyes with him. And she rubs some yam cream. Was it yam cream, I believe, on Shane's wounds?
Yeah, let me see that. Let me see your shoulder. Oh, I bought some salve. Here, I have it in my backpack. Let me just get a gop of salve and just rub it seductively onto your arm. Yeah, it smells like yams. It's yam salve. Yeah, hope you like it. Anyway, I gotta go. This wasn't meant to be sexual in any way. I just stopped by to see if you needed salve.
That's right, little Sam and Diane action here. I'll tell you, man, I've dated a lot of people and I've flirted with a lot of people, and none of them have rubbed yam salve on me, which is kind of unfortunate. I just think that lets you know maybe I haven't lived a life.
Dude, I'm all the time rubbing yam salve on me. But I'm with you. I've never had anybody buddy up with the yam salve dispersion onto my body, and I need that in my life because it looked like it was a good time.
Oh, that's a bummer, man. Well, so he gets his yam salve. He heads back to the stadium for practice. And, of course, the 80s movie villain real players show up, flip his truck again. But then those offensive line guys, see, I learned a term, Trav, come out and they pull guns out and start shooting. Yeah. Shooting at Martell, who is the OG quarterback, the original quarterback, starts shooting at his Porsche, and the typical or the first string football players go, "All right, we're just gonna flip your truck back over. It's cool. We weren't meaning to cause any trouble."
Which is weird, because why wouldn't you just run? Like, if a dude just escalates that fast with a gun, I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to go. I'm going to go hide. I'm going to go run down the streets, and I'll peek around the corner until he's gone, then I'll come back. But they just kind of stood there. I don't know. That felt weird to me. It escalated beyond. I didn't expect the gun. I'll be honest with you. I was like, wowee. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe because, it's 20-some years later, 22 years later. And when someone pulls a gun out, it means a completely different thing. We don't play guns for comedic value anymore. Or I don't even know that anyone in 2000 played guns for comedic value. But you know what? The Replacements dared to try, and I won't say I applaud them for it, but you know what? They tried. Well, they hop back to the locker room, and Coach Jimmy drops his speech. You gotta have the speeches in a sports movie.
Oh, yeah.
I do know that. I may not watch a lot of them, but you gotta have the speeches. And so he drops one about trust and leadership, and he asks everybody, what is your fear? What are you afraid of? And about 90% of the team is deathly afraid of spiders for some reason. That just they wanted to make a gag out of it, and I guess they kind of did.
That was a joke that didn't really land because they kept on with the insects. They bring up bees, and he's like, no. I mean, like, what do you fear on the field? Which I will say was a far better approach than my coach took when he played the Dirty Dancing song before our big game.
I had the time of my life.
This might have got me, talking about spiders might have got me a little bit more fired up, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like I could hand you a football trap and be like, there's a snake behind you, and you would score a touchdown, no problem.
Oh, dude. I would score a touchdown and then make love to the football. I would not even slow down once.
You don't even have to make love to the football trap. That's just weird. I was thinking you'd keep running.
I just want to show my dominance over that snake. Look what I'm capable of.
Snake's like, oh, never mind. I don't want nothing to do with that dude. So Keanu says he's afraid of quicksand, and everybody's like, okay, that makes no sense in context. Keanu, fine. And Gene Hackman's like, no, I get. He's like the Keanu whisperer. Like he knows what Keanu's trying to say. He's like, go on, Keanu, say more. And he's like, like when you're on the field and things you think they're gonna turn around. And they just don't. They just keep getting worse. And it just keeps getting worse. And then you keep, fumbling the football. That's quicksand. And everybody's like, yeah, Keanu, we're inspired now. So then they take the field.
You nailed that. It was that bad. You're right. You nailed it.
Thanks,
it was rough.
I've been practicing. So the next game, man, they're playing better. The strip leaders, they're the MVP of the game because they're doing these weird, sexy dancing things that distract the other team, and they get tackled. But our team, the Replacements, the Sentinels, they start to gel as a team a little bit. Some of that quirkiness starts to work together. Everybody's individual personality starts to conform, and they're playing a little bit better as a team, which is fun to see. This was annoying to me, and I don't know why it was annoying to me, but it was. Every play they just clipped in a new soundtrack. Sometimes it was kind of wannabe hip hop. Sometimes it was early 2000s pop rock. Sometimes it was electronic dance music. I was like, just stop. But anyway, we're gonna let that go. No, so every play, new soundtrack. Finally, oh no, you know what? I actually wrote it down here. This is where the 65-yard field goal comes in. The foot kicks that 65-yard field goal while smoking a ciggy on the field.
Oh yeah. Oh, what a good moment. He's full of confidence and nicotine, which is exactly what he needed to make that thing sail 65 yards. I just love his swagger, man. I don't like a lot of his antics. A lot of his stuff in the locker room is not savory. He's out there just flashing his wiener to whoever. But on the football field, just to behold. What a hero.
He sure can kick a football, man. And that's really all that matters is how good you are at football. Forget the crimes and the terrible things that you do in real life as long as you play that football.
Don't forget the crimes. Consider those, but also be entertaining at football so I can get real drunk and happy on Saturday and Sunday sometimes.
You're right, Trav. I'm sorry, buddy. I don't mean to rain on your parade. Flash forward, and Shane shows up at the bar that Annabelle works out. Not creepy at all, right? She showed up at his boat. I mean, I think it's only fair turnaround that he shows up at the bar.
I mean, she showed up at his boat to rub him down with yam cream. Him just to show up at the bar to say hi seems... I mean, it's a bar. it's a public establishment. It's not like it's where she lives and sleeps and works, you know. So, but he shows up there, and she is awkward the whole time. She ushers some of her regular patrons out who typically stay there late. Two old guys I'd love to drink with, just two guys that just hang around. The barflies there, and ushers them out and tries to have a conversation with him, and he's trying to be friendly to her, but she is just prickly.
She is a little bit, but you know what? You know, she's a woman that's been hurt in the past, Trav, okay? And I think there's a little subtext here that her and Martell had a thing. I think I was picking that up, but maybe I'm wrong. But she's been hurt in the past. They have a little awkward beer in silence. And then Shane's like, well, I gotta head out, I guess. And then he comes back and gives her a weird cheek kiss. And then he's heading out. And then he starts to hear John Madden in his forehead. Excuse me, in his head. And
that's where John Madden lives, right there in the pituitary. That's where you get your Madden. No, you're right. You're not wrong.
Thank you, man. And so Madden is encouraging him to go back and go in for that smoocheroo, and so he does.
Yeah.
And then the John Madden play-by-play. So this is so fucking stupid, Travis.
Now you joke, but that's exactly my play-by-play. I remember the first date I went on where I got to get a little bit of hanky-panky in the theater, and we were covered up with an old Letterman jacket you made fun of earlier. And I got to tell you, in my head the whole time, it was just like, get in there, whap it down, go get it. And that's a first down. And I remember having John Madden with me the whole time, man. So
now the next game is on the road, and they started out, they've lost a little bit of their groove. You know, a little bit in the beginning, they're not doing so well, and so I'm pretty sure this is illegal. But Coach Jimmy puts glue or maybe stickum on Orlando Jones, Florida Orlando Bloom. That's right. I got it pretty close. Puts it on his hands so that he can kind of catch the football. Which is, again, Trav, you're the sports guy. Is that okay?
No, that was cheating. I thought that was a little weird. It made for a real funny scene, and it's not. That's a gag that has lived in many a football movie. Even in The Little Giants, they have a whole funny thing where the kid that's going to catch the game-winning touchdown gets too much sticky on his hand, and he gets his hand stuck to his jersey, and he can't get them separated. And this is just another one of those gags where his hands are too sticky, he can't let go of the Gatorade cup, and he gets his hands are just sticking all over the place. It's funny as crap, though, but in the back of my head, I'm like, I know this was just for this visual, or this slapstick gag. But this is cheating, fellas. I thought we were going to win this honest.
This is where we land, Trav. This is where you draw the line in the sand. You're like, you know what? Yeah. Everything else they've done is fine. But putting a little stickum on their hands, Trav's like, no, I'm out. I'm out, guys. So you're pulling for the other team at this point.
Yeah, I'm like, I love the comedy. That's what I would have said if I were a referee. I'd been like, listen, I thought that was funny as hell, but it is illegal, and we have to forfeit your victory. Don't worry, I did laugh the whole time, but it's over for you guys.
Well, there's a scene there where old Shane tosses the ball, and it's a bad pass, and it goes through the defender's hands, but Orlando Bloom, Florida Jones, is able to catch it because of the sticky on his hands, and they win the game. Now they're walking off, and the coach is like, Coach Jimmy's like, hey, Shane, man, let it go. A win's a win, buddy. And he's like, yeah, still screwed up. There's some awkward sexual harassment that happens in the locker room that I just would rather not deal with.
Oh, man, it is rough.
Yeah, it's not comfortable with the reporter, and just I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So we're gonna let that go. So Jimmy and Ed O'Neill end up having a meeting after this game, and Ed lets him know, hey, I've got the real players back. Okay, I've got Martell. He's willing to come back. He's going to cross the line, and you've got to toss out Falco. You got to toss out Keanu Reeves. And Jimmy at first is like, no, I want to stick with him. And he says, look, you've got all these other people that are counting on you. Are you really going to let them down just for one quarterback? And Gene Hackman's like, I guess you're right. I guess I gotta let Falco go for the better for the better quarterback. So he does that in the very next scene. So we see Shane is out on the field at night practicing. Nobody else is there. He's trying to get better. You know, he wants to excel. He wants to do this. You know what, man? Of all the scenes in this movie, this broke my heart a little bit because, you know, I was that guy. I played. I don't want to impress you, Trav, but I played JV basketball, and I wasn't very good at it. But I would go out onto the basketball court. You know, I had access to a basketball, and I would shoot all night from several different locations so that I knew if I was in that location, I could make a basket. I would practice for hours and hours and hours on end. So I kind of relate to Shane a little bit here. Like maybe he doesn't have this natural ability of a Martell or a Tom Brady, but he's got the work ethic, and he's on that field,
That's right.
and he's chucking those balls, and then he comes out and he finds out, oh no, we're bringing Martell back, and you know he takes it on the chin, man. He takes it okay.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough because he is trying to get better because at the very end of that last game, like you mentioned, I think McGinty's words to him were like, hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And I think Shane Falco says, you know what, I'm going to get good because we're going to have to, you know, the team's relying on me at this point. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm feeling a renowned confidence identity with this team. I can do this. I'm not the guy that lost the Sugar Bowl 45-0. And then he gets it handed to him. I think what's weird about this, though, is Martell is the only one that crosses the line. And why would the quarterback be the only one that comes back into play with, I guess, less good players around him? Because that seems like a recipe to just get obliterated, you know? Seems like he would want, like, hey, I'm going to cross the line, but could I get some of my good linemen to come with, huh? Anybody? But no, it's like I don't know if there's any subtext, but it's like he's also just trying to get under the skin of everyone else and not really just for football reasons. I don't know. It's weird.
No, I think that Martell, we've established he's kind of a scummy dude and he wants his money and it doesn't make it, you know, he's got no integrity. Oh, he's got no integrity. So if he thinks he can make a little bit of more money, he's got his money that he's asking for. He doesn't care about his lineman. He's going to come back, right? So I think that's what happened. And we find that out. These super scummy. I don't even know if he's scummy or if he's just trying to be nice in this scene with Shane, where he's like, yeah, you know, the worst thing they give you lame players that aren't very good is hope. He has this whole nasty scene with Shane, and it's like, it's the callousness of it that's so bad. You know, you're like, oh, God, I really hate you, Martell. But it happens.
And as you alluded to when we were watching, you're like, damn, that is some lazy screenwriting because he telegraphs about 4 sentences with just the most copy-paste bad guy verbiage that you can think of. But he also, and another reason that he might have come back, and again, they don't really like, you know, put the pedal to the metal on this through line, but it could have something to do with Annabelle, and that maybe he's trying to unseat Shane Falco as quarterback so he can, because he sees maybe her affection toward him, and he wants to be the replacement of Shane Falco and be favored in that way. So anyway, yeah, he's a real turd, that Eddie Martell. I don't like him.
I'm not a fan of him. I don't like him very much. I don't think he's very cool. So our boy Shane, he's bummed out. He goes to the party, which everybody's getting like smashed at some bar. And he tells Nigel, who's the foot, the Welshman, that like, hey, you know, Martell's back. I guess I'm off the team, but you know, you guys are gonna do fine. Well, of course, Nigel makes a scene, and then Shane has to tell everybody. But they all toast him, which I thought was really nice. They're like, hey, you know, you got us this far. We really appreciate you. You are our brother, our leader, our captain, oh captain. You know, and I thought that was a nice little scene. Well, Annabelle and Shane had a date scheduled for that night, but obviously Shane's a little bummed out. Now, listen, he no-shows the date, and just because you're sad doesn't mean you can't dial a telephone and tell somebody you can tell I've been stood up before, can tell that person that like, hey, I can't make it for our date that we've scheduled. I'm a little low on Shane after that, man. I don't think that was very cool.
Send a T9 text to that woman. Let her know that you're just too in the dumps about your bad news to come hang out. She'll understand.
Dang right.
She'll understand. Don't just leave her sitting with a bottle of whiskey and 2 candles melted to the nub.
Dude, Trav, I will let you know I have never left a woman and a bottle of whiskey alone in my life. I would never let a woman with a bottle of whiskey and some candles down.
I would get that whiskey 100%. I would go rescue that whiskey any day of the week. I hear you, man.
That's right. So we end up at the next. So we see she's bummed out, poor Annabelle, but she's a professional, so she's going to show up to cheerlead the next day. So we see the playoff game, and it's without Shane. He's back on his boat, and it's, I guess the D.C. harbor. Again, looks like Florida. That's fine. And so Martel, is not playing particularly great. He just doesn't sync up with these guys. He's used to his guys or whatever. He's just not able to make it work. And it's not going great. And, I mean, this is the game. This is the game that gets them into the playoffs. He's, trying to toss. He's missing passes. This makes me so mad when he's mean to the guy who's hearing impaired. Like, he yells at him for not being able to hear, which, first of all, man,
yeah, he's just a real turd about the whole thing, blaming everybody around him because, you know what? He's the real quarterback. These are a bunch of fake players. It's their fault that they're not winning, not his.
Hate him so much. But the team has lost its mojo. Something about bringing that lineup needs to be the same. They're just not used to it. Well, they're losing at halftime, and they're walking off the field, and a reporter walks up to Jimmy, the coach, and says, "Hey, what does this team need?" And he says, "It needs heart." Now, that calls back to something that he had told Falco earlier in the movie, that's the one thing that Falco had that Martel didn't, which was heart. He literally straight up fully quotes, have you ever seen the musical Damn Yankees there, Trav?
I've not seen the musical, no.
It's a sports musical. Does that get you interested?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like you're interested. It sounded like you were choking for a second.
I will watch it one day. How about that?
No, you definitely won't. But that's okay. You don't have to lie to me, man. So
okay,
or you can lie to me and make me feel better. But there's a song in that musical called "You Gotta Have Heart." You gotta have miles and miles and miles of heart. And he literally quotes this into the camera. And Falco somehow knows, yes, he's calling me. He's calling me from he rises like the phoenix from the ashes and shows up in the locker room, and the team rallies around him. Somehow I don't know how, again, he's at the harbor. I mean, this is presumably in a metropolitan area. I don't know how he covers the distance in 5 minutes, but somehow he does.
He gets there quick, yeah.
We're going to let that go. We're just going to forget about it. Suspension of disbelief. He gets there. And Martel gets benched, and his team straight up stands up to him, and they're like, "Hey, you're a jerk. We want our boy Falco back." So Falco takes the field with the team.
He takes the field with the team. Everybody is excited. You get a shot of Ed O'Neill, the team owner, and he's like, "Falco, what is McGinty doing?" And you're like, oh, well, I guess he's not in favor of this. Bit of foreshadowing for later. And then, he immediately runs over and lays a big smacking kiss on Annabelle, who's in the middle of cheerleading. He just runs onto the football field, just runs straight to the cheerleading squad, which I'm pretty sure there's guards that'll keep you out of that area. But he runs over there and gives her a big old full tongue kiss after standing her up, and she doesn't even seem upset, Kev. I don't think it's believable.
Yeah, out of all the things in this movie, I was like, dude, if I ever stood up any of the ladies I've been with, like, they're pulling out the snippers next time I see them, man. I can't. I'm not just going to run up for a smooch-a-doo. I'm going to need, like, hey, here's some flowers. I brought some chocolates. Here's a teddy bear and a copy of The Notebook. Let's just have an evening of it and just get through this. Go ahead and start yelling. And then maybe I'd be able to make up for it. But you know what? I'm not Keanu Reeves, so I guess that probably explains a lot. So they make up instantly. Of course they do. And immediately, as soon as play starts, the team is up to shenanigans again. One dude, like, just they go straight at, like, drop kicking the defensive line. They're, like, punching people. Man. Like, they lose.
One guy does, like, a full-on Liu Kang kick, like flying kick across the screen. But that was like their plan. They wanted to like set the tone for the second half, so they just came out and just violently beat the hell out of the other team on the first play and took a 45. They took a penalty so hard the referee come out, couldn't even count up all the yards, basically pinned them back inside their own 5, and it was like 1st and 45. So now what are they going to do? Was that a good idea? I mean, from a psychological standpoint, sometimes in basketball, a basketball coach will get excited and take a technical, to get their team fired up. And, when I was in high school, Kev, varsity basketball is what we had. I don't know about this JV business you're talking about. We had full on, varsity. Our varsity basketball coach, his nickname was the Jacket because that was his gimmick. He would wear a jacket, and then at some point during the game, to fire up the team, he'd rip off that jacket, which was an immediate technical for some reason, which I think he planned with the referees. He said, listen, when I take off the jacket, give us a technical. I'm pretty sure that's how it went, not going to lie. And that would get everybody fired up. The crowd's into it like, gosh dang. And then all the players are like, gosh dang. And everybody was gosh dang. And I think that might have been what was going on here. Let's get everybody fired up. Get a big, it's going to set us back, but it's going to make us, it's a step toward a punch in the mouth.
And they do that, man. They toss old Falco tosses a good pass. Guy catches it, and then he gets his knee broken, which seems completely unnecessary. Like, they didn't need to break that dude's knee. I don't know why the screenwriters decided to do it, but they did. So they smash his knee. He's out of the game.
Well, I think that the action in this movie is honestly pretty good, like football action. Like, they do a lot of, like, mid-air collisions that look good. The sound design's really good. I wouldn't be surprised if that guy legitimately broke his leg in the middle of filming, and they just were like, keep it. That's good. That is good.
That's good stuff. Well, they end up back in the huddle. They get the ball back, and of course, Shane gives a speech for the ages and gets the team amped. And at this point, the Foot has glanced out into the crowd and seen those mafia guys. Now, you mentioned them, earlier. These mafia guys he owes some money to, and so, they're basically going to take his bar, and he's having a little bit of a freak out about it. They're intimidating him. And so Shane sees this and realizes that the Foot is not going to be able to kick that field goal. That's what it's called, right, Trav? A field goal?
It sure is, bud. Yeah, they got him out there, and normally, full of swagger. You'd have full trust in the leg's ability to go ahead and kick that old field goal. And this is a chip shot. Even Pat Summerall says, John, this is just going to be a little kick shot for him. And he notices that the leg, not smoking a cigarette and carrying on with all kinds of bravado, he's crying. Uh-oh, what's going on? Leg, what's going on? I don't think he calls him leg, but what's happening to you?
He's the Foot.
Foot and leg, lower appendage, what's going on? And he says basically he didn't pay up on some debts, and some guys are in the crowd. It kind of seems like they got some things stacked against him. He's not allowed to make this field goal or else something bad's going to happen to him. You get that gist. And our man Shane, who typically not quick on the get for a lot of things, he's able to compute what this means and says, all right, this is where I'm going to take the ball into my own hands, and I'm going to have to do what Coach McGinty said. Winners want the ball. So he takes the snap, pulls the ball out. The leg goes up for the kick, whiffs, busts his butt on the ground. Shane goes around the end, scampers for a very long touchdown. Game winner. Oh, did we just win the game? Uh-oh. Flag on the play.
Yeah, my boy Jumbo was doing a little bit of holding. And so there's a flag on the play. They got to run it back.
He thought he smelled a boiled egg in that boy's pocket and got the holding on to him.
He sure did. So they got to run it back so that we get the scene between Jimmy and Shane says, I want the ball. And so they're in the huddle. They need this touchdown. They need to win the game, of course. And he's like, well, who wants the ball more than me? Well, Brian, the hearing impaired. Was he right? Was he wide receiver?
Just tight end. Receiver. Yeah.
And he says, you give that ball to me. And so, boom, he gets it, touchdown, and they win. And it's, fireworks. Okay, there's no fireworks, but everybody's super happy. They're super excited. Even the other team, for some reason, is excited that they lost and the Sentinels have won. I don't really get it, but it happens. And Gene Hackman has this voiceover that kind of ties things together. He's like, these guys, their lives are going to be miserable after this game, but it doesn't matter because they have glory. And you're like, Gene Hackman, it does matter. We're invested in these characters at this point. What do you mean? What do you mean it doesn't matter? But, we don't get any more
Gene,
information.
one guy has to go back to prison, so I don't know if you knew that. The terms of his release were very much in favor of him going back after this.
Yeah, I was not, again, Gene Hackman's trying to, I don't know, make lemonade out of lemons, which I guess you have to do. So good for him. And the movie ends with a little bit more line dancing and a little bit more of Keanu Reeves, kissing on a strip leader. And that's about it. That's The Replacements, man.
That's about it. Of course, they end on that dance that they learned together shoddily in that prison scene. And gosh, you just love to see things come full circle.
I want to know where these football players spent so much time learning how to line dance. I feel like they would have had an easier time in games if they, practiced football instead of line dancing.
I know, I'm with you. Well, they didn't, I don't know, they weren't doing anything that they did very well, but they were able to pull out the victory. You love to see it, and that ends it. That ends it, but it's one of those sports movies. I don't know if they were trying not to shoot the moon with the stakes, but it's like they're just in the playoffs. They don't win anything.
I'll say I actually sort of appreciated that a little bit, man.
A little bit.
I was like, every football movie you ever see, it comes down to like the Super Bowl, and it's like, you know what? I'm glad they didn't do that. I kind of appreciate it. That was one of the very few unique things that this movie did. I was like, thank you for that. The Replacements.
Yeah, and it alludes to nothing. It doesn't close out with like, and the Washington Sentinels went on to win the Super Bowl that season. It doesn't say anything about the future. It's like, yeah, they got in the playoffs, and then everybody else went on to lead a miserable life, pretty much.
Thank you, Gene Hackman. Thank you so much, man. What did you, Trav? This is one of your favorite movies. I mean, I would be shocked if this isn't your number one.
I don't know that it even ranks for a sports movie, but I already said it. I think the soundtrack is obviously very fun. I love a good licensed music soundtrack, especially for sports movies. I think it works. I think it might have been a little overdone, but there were some fun tracks here. I think the sports choreography, a lot of the action shots were superb, and the humor was slightly out of touch, but sometimes it landed. But I will say all of that, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be on this rewatch. I was expecting something that just absolutely did not hold up. And it was a little long in the tooth. I think they could have trimmed about 30 minutes of it out. But all said, I think it's a B+. It's not a bad sports movie.
I was kind of expecting more of maybe a serious sports movie. So the fact that it's a sports comedy made it a little more palatable for me. Again, this is one of those movies. It was that albatross around my neck. People had always been like, have you seen The Replacements? Hey, how about The Replacements? Have you checked out The Replacements?
That's weird to me.
It's
your friends creep me out. I don't know.
They're outside your house, Trav, right now with Replacements jerseys. They've got Washington Sentinels jerseys outside your house right now. Why they're so into The Replacements, I don't know, but they are, and they're so into it. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. People love this movie. Again, there are certain sports movies that people just gravitate towards, and I guess this is one of them. But yeah, so on a budget of $50 million, this film made a little over $50 million. So it was, it was not a box office standout by any stretch of the imagination. So, it wasn't a total bomb, but we can agree from a financial standpoint that this film was a little bit of a dud. It was a little bit of a stutter step in the career for Keanu Reeves as well, as it happened kind of between the Matrix and its sequel. Now, it was loosely, and we kind of touched on this a smidge, but loosely based on the NFL strike of 1987. This film does sprint towards being a feel-good flick to watch with a few beers, and mostly accomplishes that without tearing its ACL on the way. You like that?
Yeah, that is good. Yeah. Although one guy did, and I think he really did. I think the action was choreographed so well that guy legitimately tore his ACL. So that makes sense to me.
But this I guess sports comedy with a splash of drama in there has went on to gain some cult status among lovers of sports films and underdog stories. despite those strong anti-union themes, which you and I didn't touch on a lot in this, but man, do they really hate unions in this movie for some reason.
I mean, without that hate, I guess we wouldn't really have a lovable cast of characters to replace everyone with, so I guess I get it. There are other themes in here that I didn't like so much, especially themes against female reporters wasn't my favorite theme.
Yeah, me either. Yeah, well, we've cleared it from the bin, and you know what? I got it in, man. I got in a sports movie. I feel like you're proud of me. I can see it in your eyes. Yeah,
of course.
You've got a little. Is that a ribbon? Are you giving me a ribbon, Trav?
Yeah. I'm giving you a ribbon. This is for watching a sports movie and not being painfully melancholy and just anti-sports the whole time. You gave it a chance. I appreciate that. I don't know what sports movie we're going to draw for season 2, but I hope it's something that you also can enjoy. That's all I'll say.
Me too. Well, guys, if you like what just happened, you might like our other shows. Now, for more Travis, head over to the polymedianetwork.com and check out his other podcasts. And if you like me, and I can't imagine you wouldn't, seek out the podcast Blue Peg, Pink Peg for all your board gaming needs. We talk about board games, relationships, and the intersection between the two. And if you think, gee, I hope these guys, Kevin and Trav, keep making a podcast. Will you hop on over to the Patreon and, maybe just toss us a few bucks? You tip the pizza guy, you tip your barber, at least I hope you do. So, tip your podcast host here and keep those home fires lit, And we definitely want to thank our pal Harvest Black for our theme song. It's, man, I love it every time I hear it. And just like our Uncle Doug always says,
pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever.